Draft season is here, and Keith and I have a dueling mock draft where we fix your favorite teams.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson. I'm an NFL draft analyst with Bleacher Report. That's my guy, Keith Sanchez. He is a director of scouting with the Draft Network and 2019 national champion with the LSU Tigers. And as always, thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. As we teased on yesterday's show, at the end of yesterday's show, we did a mock draft, guys. We did our mock. I took the odd numbers. I'm sorry. Keith took the even numbers, and we picked for each, all 32 teams. We'll get into our favorite picks first, the most interesting picks, and then the most underrated picks from our latest mock draft right now. But before we get into that, today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Favorite picks. Now, the draft order, guys, we used, I used NFL.com. They updated after Monday Night Football, went ahead and used their I figured theirs would be the most accurate because since it's the NFL, right? It's their event, so I'm rolling with theirs. Instead of like a Tinkathon or what have you. But at number one, Keith, they had the Las Vegas Raiders, sitting there at the top spot. And I think that's my favorite pick, and that's Fernando Mendoza. I put Mendoza QB1 to the Raiders. And Keith, you talking about a team that has been like hovering between 6 and 8 almost every year, and they've needed a quarterback. They just couldn't get to one. And if everything holds pat and they're at that number one spot, yeah, I think putting Mendoza with Tom Brady being kind of part of the brain trust there and stuff like that. You have Brock Bowers, Trey Tucker, Ashton Genty, like he'll have a legit first round running back to hand the ball off to. They got to continue to work on that offensive line. I think you can use some salary cap money and stuff like that in free agency. But I love this fit again, I think they let go of Chip Kelly. There's talks that Pete Carroll might not even be there after the season. You know what I mean? Yep. So there could be a whole new regime from head coach, coaching staff, everything. But just from what they have weaponry-wise, I like that for Fernando Mendoza. Because, again, we talked about it. He's been able to shine without throwing to the best of the best. Mm-hmm. And we've seen what that looks like. And now he gets a elite, all-star caliber tight end that will be healthy going into 2026 and a great running back.
Yeah, so I agree with that in him being the guy. Because we talked about him for, was it Favorite Pairings or something? We talked about him paired up with the New York Jets, right?
Yeah.
And him going to the Las Vegas Raiders, for all of those reasons that I liked him going to the Jets, I like him going to the Raiders, right? I think he'll have that same personality of kind of not caring. And I'll tell you this, DP, Mendoza might have won me over, right? I was watching the Pat McAfee show. And there was a clip where he was talking about that hit, right? And it was, the opening play of the game. And he's talking about how he got, basically leveled. And he was like, I kind of enjoyed it. I needed it. I needed that to kind of get me right. And he was like, it was pretty cool to see my brother, go out there and him command the huddle and for a play. But I was like, I need to get back out there. Like, this is my team, right? So I was like, okay, I like this. Okay, I get it. Like, it's, it's balance, right? It's balance. So balance. We're just going to take this process for what the process is, right? With Fernando Mendoza and his media training skills. But I was like, you know what? I got to tell DP and tell the Locked On listeners that I'm in. That was enough. I just needed to
like, so what? We did summer scouting in June? So it's been 6 months. It took us 6 months, guys. It took us 6 months to get Keith on board. But hey, but we're here. We're here now.
Yeah, and then when I like you, I don't go nowhere, right? I stand 10 toes down. I don't move, right? Bryce Young, I never moved.
He is loyal.
Sanders, I never moved, right? Once I like you, I like you. When I'm in, I'm in. But I do like the situation with the Las Vegas Raiders. DP, when I look at situations and you talk about favorite picks, right? I'm going to go I'm gonna go these back to back because I thought it was interesting. And you went New York Giants selecting Carnell Tate, and then I followed that up at number 3. You went New York Giants at number 3, selecting Carnell Tate. I went Jordan Tyson to the Cleveland Browns at number 4. I like those picks. I like those picks. I like Jordan Tyson going to the Cleveland Browns. Shedeur Sanders, he's showing that maybe he wasn't a 5th-round pick talent-wise, right? Maybe.
Maybe
this
not.
guy's on a Hall of Fame trajectory. All I'm saying is this. You've seen him hop on a football field with the guy that was the number 1 overall pick. And they didn't look too far apart, right? Just as far as their ability to grasp the game. And at this point in their career, both being rookies in 13 games into a season in a rookie year, they didn't look that far apart. It didn't look like they should have been 150 picks apart from each other at the quarterback position. I think that's the best way to put it. But just the New York Giants selecting Carnell Tate, going back to my point, giving Jackson Dart another weapon. And we talked about this. The situation with Malik Neighbors and his injury, DP, you don't know how those injuries are going to unfold, right? You don't know how quickly he's going to come back. And those injuries, when you talk about Achilles, you talk about ACLs, those injuries are not like one end to another, right? Like they're not directly synced in the sense of the fact of, okay, cool, at this point you will be exactly at this point, at this month you will be exactly at this month. Every ACL injury is different, right? Every Achilles injury is a little bit different. So you have to almost expect that you may not have a fully healthy / comfortable Malik Neighbors. That's what you bet on, right? And if he comes back fully healthy, is great. But I think if you want Jackson Dart to not play Cam Scatterbull light, right, and run the football 20 times a game, then you need to give him some more offensive weapons. And I like Jordan Tyson to the Cleveland Browns because I like giving Shedeur Sanders another weapon. Jerry Jeudy, cool. David Njoku, cool, right? Like good football players. But I think it's time for this wide receiver core to get another boost. At one point, we thought that the Cleveland Browns, like maybe 2 years ago, had one of the better wide receiver cores, but I think with the departures of some guys and some guys not stepping up, it's average, to be honest. It may be below average if you look at it.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest needs on this roster right now is to improve the wide receiver room. And I think, and crazy enough, Keith, if things had, in the perfect world, he would have been throwing to Jordan Tyson at Colorado, before he went to the draft.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because he left.
Trying to remember if they know each other. I feel like they might have crossed paths, or they came in as left out, right? Somewhere around there. Yep.
So like that we could have seen that, and maybe Travis Hunter doesn't even play a snap, doesn't have to play as many snaps offensively. He develops as a DB, and he's still a 1st-round pick, but he doesn't have to play both sides of the ball as heavily. So putting Jordan Tyson, his route running, his yards after catch creation, the ball skills, the body control, the toughness that he brings, and a guy that knows how. Like I'm telling you guys, even. Again, the injuries, like it's gonna scare some people. Like, man, he had like a lower leg injury that kept him out after he transferred to Arizona, or after he left Colorado. Then this year's been the hamstring. Last year, I think it was like a collarbone or something like that. The last game of the season, the Big 12 championship game, stuff like that. So either way, I think putting Jordan Tyson and to me, seeing because. Looking at what Shedeur has been able to do, I think Harold Fannin is going to be a big part of this offense. Him and Shedeur have a great connection.
Yep.
Shout out to the tight end class. We tried to tell everybody this tight end class was good. You know what I mean? Really, it wasn't just Loveland and Tyler Warren. It was, Elijah Arroyo, Fannin, Oronde Gadsden for the Chargers. You know what I mean? Like, I think he's like top 7 in terms of rookie receiving yards this year. He's been battling injury. So shout out to the tight end class, first of all. But Keith, to the Giants thing, I think adding Carnell Tate as that big body route runner who could play that X and the Z spot or the slot and just create all those advantageous matchups, especially when Malik Neighbors gets healthy. Man, and then I think, they got to figure out the Wan'Dale Robinson thing. He's played very well in Malik Neighbors' absence, but he's coming up on the contract. You got to figure that part out, Keith. And I want to go to number 8 real quick. You put the Arizona Cardinals at 8. You gave him Ty Simpson. I love it. I know people will be like, look how he's played the last month of the season. I get it. I hear it, guys. But you're telling me he gets to go from throwing to Jeremy Bernard and Ryan Williams to Marvin Harrison Jr., Trey McBride, Michael Wilson. They can run the ball. They have a good defense when healthy. Yeah, I think Ty Simpson would do very well in Arizona in a dome. He'll be playing in the dome half of his games because there'll be home games, and he'll play one extra because he played the Rams. So he gets 7 home games, 8 home games, whatever it is, dome games. I mean, so I think putting him in that offense, it would be very fun to watch because again, he's a natural thrower of the football and giving them weapons like he hasn't had that yet. He hasn't had real true weapons, and Marvin Harrison Jr. and those guys are weapons.
Yeah, and I started DP because the Rams picked right after them, and I know this must have been
you definitely got me because I was definitely going to go Ty Simpson to the Rams.
And I almost DP. I almost let it. I almost didn't do it because I wanted to see Ty Simpson to the Rams, but I was like, you know what, the Arizona Cardinals, right? You got to treat it like a mock draft, right? And Arizona Cardinals front office isn't thinking about the Los Angeles Rams front office.
No,
so I had to do what I had to do, DP. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. It got a little bit competitive yesterday, right? When we were doing
and that it did.
When we were doing this dueling mock draft. But let's do this, man. We talked about our favorite picks. Let's talk about our most interesting picks, right? The picks that make you turn your head to the side a little bit, right? And do a double take. We'll talk about that from our dueling mock draft. Talk about that coming up next.
Today's episode is brought to you by Prospects. The holiday season is one of the best times for sports. Bowl games, big basketball matchups, playoff pushes. It's all happening at once. And while we're all making choices every day, one of the most fun places to make the right choice, the right call, is Prospects. Prospects is the easiest way to get in on daily fantasy. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, lock in your lineup, and you're in the game. It's simple, fast, and available in 45 states, including California, Texas, Florida, and Georgia. Creating a lineup takes less than a minute, less than 60 seconds, and the app makes the whole process smooth and intuitive. Download the Prospects app today and use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineup after you play your first $5 lineup. Prospects is good to be right. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club and get your favorite NFL show with no interruptions, members only Discord access, and more. All just for $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/everydayerclub. Check the link in the show notes to learn more. Most interesting picks from our dueling mock draft, Keith, that, like you said, was definitely competitive. You sniped me a couple times while I was waiting on the prospect, and I was like, man, he got me. And Keith, one of the ones, it was the interesting pick. I love it. Granted, they have a guy they drafted last year, I like, but he clearly was not ready. Jeremiyah Love to the Pittsburgh Steelers, man. Let's talk about that one. I think, as we look at this quarterback class, right? Mendoza went 1. Dante Moore went to the Jets at 5. We had Ty Simpson go to the Cardinals. That's the top 3 quarterbacks in this class. So you don't think the Steelers are going to reach, not again, after the Kenny Pickett fiasco. They're not reaching for another quarterback. So you go BPA, best player available. And I think adding Jeremiyah Love to this offense with DK Metcalf, hopefully Aaron Rodgers does come back. This is an interesting fit because he does everything. He runs the ball, he catches the ball, you can motion them and line them up all over the place. And then the big playability that he would bring to this offense, man. Yeah, the other, Cincinnati, Baltimore, Cleveland. Yeah, that's not a situation you really want to deal with him in that backfield, especially if Aaron Rodgers is at quarterback, because if he finds that matchup, he's going to exploit it.
Yeah, and so this was my most interesting pick too, right? And I guess I made the pick, but I once I did it because I wasn't expecting it, right? And you seen that Jeremiyah Love was still on the board at, was it pick 20? The Pittsburgh
pick 20, pick 20.
It was pick 20, right? And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, should I do it? And I'm like, you know what? The Pittsburgh Steelers historically have wanted to be a team that runs the football, right? And that's clearly what they kind of want to be now. And with their offensive coordinator, Arthur, Arthur Smith. Yeah, I don't know. I was thinking about Arthur Blank too for the owner of Atlanta Falcons. I was making sure I was saying the right thing. But no, looking at Arthur Smith, and I've said it and I said it again. I'm not a fan of his offense at all. Like I wasn't a fan of it with the Atlanta Falcons. I thought it was okay with the Tennessee Titans, right? But looking at if he's still in place, then they need some juice, right? Like it's his offense. To me, it doesn't create explosive opportunities. You have to have explosive players that execute the opportunities, if that makes sense, right? And so looking at Jeremiyah Love at the running back situation, because they drafted Caleb Johnson, right? That was the young running back you were talking about. They drafted Caleb Johnson last year. And I believe that Caleb Johnson is a solid back, right? And then they have Warren in there, but I think Jeremiyah Love would be a nice combination of the two, right? Because now they're to me, Johnson and Warren are kind of somewhat polar opposites, like from frame to kind of just how they approach the game. Just they're just different backs. And I think Jeremiyah Love, he would force the Pittsburgh Steelers to have to make a decision because he's such a souped up or like supercharger to that offense. It's like, okay, cool. Now what do we really need in this, as far as a complementary piece between one of the two to make a decision? Or maybe you could keep all three and then let them have very definitive roles within the offense. But I liked it. And when I looked at it, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and just pull the trigger and go with it and put them with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
No, I like the fit overall. I know Steeler fans are probably going to be angry, once they see the graphics of like where the receivers fell. They'd be like, man, why didn't we take a receiver? But at the same time, this is a really deep receiver class, so you can still find receivers on day 2, second, and third round. I think adding a Jeremiyah Love.
Yeah, and the other part of it is that, I mean, you have to figure out who you want to be, right? Like, so doing this draft, I drafted this in the light of what the Pittsburgh Steelers have showed us that they are, right? And
black and blue physical team.
And also, y'all had George Pickens. George Pickens is outpacing any year he had with the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? So there's a lot you have to figure out. You have to figure out the quarterback situation. And I think that's a key point too, is that I was like, okay, at this very moment, if we're doing a mock draft in a vacuum, you're talking about December, right? The second week in December doing a mock draft, is there a situation where there's a quarterback, a QB4 that has emerged? I'm like, not really, right? And there's been a couple of times I've put Darian Minshew in there, and you maybe want to throw another guy in there. I feel like there will be another quarterback that pops up during this process. But at this very moment, the second week of December, I don't think that was the appropriate move. And then having a for sure talent like Jeremiyah Love sitting on the board, I was like, you know what? Let's just go
BPA. I'm all for going BPA. Keith, another a pick that I wanted to highlight, I guess, from my own in terms of like the, I guess, interesting pick, Jermont McCoy to the Eagles. That one, I like it simply because you don't have to rush. I mean, I don't want to say rush him back because he sat all season from the ACL. So it's not that you got to rush him into anything. He's been kind of chilling and getting better, right? Getting healthy. But you think about potentially having a trio of corners of Cooper DeJean in the slot, Jermont McCoy, and Quinyon Mitchell. Right. And with that defensive front that they have, that can absolutely feast and get after the quarterback and stop the run when they like this right here would be a great fit for him because, again, he'll be a guy that you could ease into everything. You probably keep a veteran there like an Adoree Jackson or whoever else in that room. But putting Jermont McCoy there I think would be a lot of fun for that secondary because he could play man, he could play zone, he could mix it up and do whatever. Because Fangio on third downs, he's repetitive, but on third downs, he goes man coverage. And so he plays a lot of zone, but then on money downs, he needs to man up. And a guy like Jermont McCoy would fit that defense very well, actually.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I like that selection. And it fits the Philadelphia Eagles and how they draft, right? Like, okay, cool, we'll let y'all skip over some talent for whatever reason y'all may have, right? The Jalen Carters, the Jahad Campbells, and we can probably continue to go on. It's a few more draft prospects in there, right? That people have skipped over for various different reasons. The Jordan Davises, right? And they've taken them, they put them in their culture, and it's been successful, right? So I look at it from that perspective, and I say this is right on par with a Philadelphia Eagles, draft selection. I'm going to look at DP. I'm going to go back to the top of the draft within the top 10, and the Washington Commanders taking Caleb Downs. And the reason I say that is because, listen, man, the Washington Commanders, they will probably go down as probably one of the most disappointing teams, right, from this past year. But I think this is more of who they are, right? That this roster had a lot of holes. Last year was based off of freshman phenom, right, or rookie
Right.
phenom taking the league by storm, and you forgot that you wasn't that good of a football team. And I'm not like sliding Washington Commanders fans, right? I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is a rebuild usually takes a couple years. A rebuild is not inserting X quarterback and then now all of the other players
Problems
are
go away.
exponentially talented
Yeah.
too, right? So Jaden Daniels can't play defensive back for you, right? He can't rush the quarterback. He doesn't run the football, right? He doesn't block. So I think that selection to me for them drafting Caleb Downs was kind of giving them a leader on the defensive side of the football. And I know they have Frankie Louvu, right? But just adding another young guy, a young talented guy on the back end of that defense, which has been an issue, to where they can turn the corner and say, you know what, we have Caleb Downs, we have Frankie Louvu, right? Like we have defensive pieces to start kind of putting together the structure and the culture of what we want our defense to be, and just being fast, physical. And then the biggest thing, you have to be talented, right? You have to, at the end of the day, like defensive players, like you have to have talent. Like there's no
Dan Quinn would
scheme.
love this kid too. Dan Quinn
Yeah,
would love him.
yeah, 100%. So that's why I wanted to go with that with Caleb Downs.
No, I like that. I think putting them in that Dan Quinn scheme again. I've said it, said it early in the season. I think I said maybe once or twice. Playing for Matt Patricia is just preparing Caleb Downs for the NFL. You know what I mean? For usage and terminology and
IQ,
all the IQ, all that stuff. That I'm pretty sure the NFL teams are probably going to love him in the interview process by being able to pick his brain and realize how intelligent he is of a football player and how much Matt Patricia's defense and system and everything else really helped further along the already strengths of his game. So putting him in there to be that just the best DB in the room for them. You drafted Trey Amos last year, stuff like that. Just rebuild this defense and this team. Again, like you said, they weren't as good as the record showed last year. JD5 was just JD5ing. But this year, when he went down and different things like that, Terry McLaurin got hurt, things look a lot different for the Commanders.
Yep, I agree with DP. We're going to wrap this show up with what the most underrated picks, right? Picks that's flying under the radar, but we promise will be franchise-changing picks. So let's talk about that coming up next.
Car shopping should feel exciting and not confusing. And with Car Gurus, you can get the confidence you deserve. They cut through all the noise so you can actually see the best deals on the cars you want. Because when it comes to a big purchase, you deserve the best deal. And Car Gurus makes that whole process simple by giving you all the information, real deal ratings, and more listings than anyone else, so you can shop the way you want. Use Car Guru's deal ratings to compare cars quickly without having to guess whether the price is fair. Car Gurus connects you with trusted dealerships for a transparent and hassle-free buying process. With over 4 million listings, the most of any major online automotive marketplace, you'll always find the best deal. Shop the way you want with the tools, data, and unbiased deal ratings that make it easy. Buy or sell your next car today at cargurus.com. That's CARGURS.com, cargurus.com. Guys, it's 2025, almost 2026. And those days of waiting for something to become a full-blown emergency before you see a doctor, they're over. No more walking it off for 6 months. No more pretending that weird shoulder stiffness is just sleeping wrong. It's time to take your health seriously. And ZocDoc makes that easier than ever, because staying healthy is more than hitting the gym or eating right. It's about actually getting things checked out when something feels wrong or feels off. Let's compare providers using real patient reviews and not paid ads. So stop putting off your doctor's appointments and get the care you need. Go to ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL. ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNFL. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shop for being our everydayers. Most I'm gonna say interesting, most underrated picks, Keith. I gotta go with my pick 29. I had 29. The Seahawks, KC Concepcion, wide receiver at Texas A&M. This, like, listen, Cooper Kupp's there. Cooper Kupp looks like he's ready to transition to being a wide receiver coach at this stage of his career. You know what I mean? You got Torrey Horton and everything, who's out of Colorado State, who brings that deep speed as well and ball tracking it. I think KC Concepcion, pairing him with JSN, and you talking about giving Sam Darnold, and you got Elijah Arroyo at tight end.
And you have Rashid Shaheed also.
I forgot. Yeah, like, listen, at the end of the day, the Seahawks.
That's a wide receiver core. Yeah.
That's a wide receiver core where, like, because at the end of the day, like, I think about it, like, you want to take away JSN defensively, but there's going to be consequences to that. Yeah, because KC Concepcion can beat you down the field. Rashid Shaheed can beat you down the field. Torrey Horton can beat you down the field. And then I think out of those three guys, KC Concepcion would be the guy that I would start on the outside at that, like, Z spot you want to play JSN.
Yep.
Because of his ability to run routes, and then he's so dynamic and explosive after the catch and how he could create with the ball in his hands. And Rashid Shaheed can do similar things as well. He's more of the just purely he's at the unbridled speed. I'm taking the top off the defense, the clear out route, stuff like that. They're like, hey, you double JSN, you clear, and you can move KC in the slot. So if you want to run that deep post from the Z spot and, isolate KC Concepcion, you can do that. At the end of the day, I think looking at Sam Darnold, he's played well for them. Like, that's back-to-back years in Minnesota last year, and now with the Seattle Seahawks. This is Sam Darnold, and this is who he's going to be for the next 5 to 7 years. Seattle might have their franchise quarterback, which is crazy considering he was in New York, Minnesota, Carolina, and he was with San Fran for a little bit with Kyle Shanahan, right? And he becomes, gosh, and you gotta hate that. Like that Seahawks might have their franchise quarterback that was on your roster at one point. I think you want to just continue to build around Sam Darnold at this point. And you got, K9, Kenneth Walker, see if they work out a contract with him, but they got Damian Martinez and Zach Charbonnet. They got a lot of running backs. So, and they have one of the best defenses in the league. I love this fit.
Yeah, no, I like their pick too. Just from everything you outlined, and I think we agree that KC Concepcion will come step in, and he should be the Z, right? He should fill in as the number 2, and I like having the opportunity to alternate between Torrey Horton Jr. and Rashid Shaheed as that number 3 guy, right? Like, which guy we want to potentially draw it up, or we want to take the vertical shot with. It allows everybody to play a role that really fits them and what they do specifically, right? And it gives you a deep wide receiver room. I'm gonna pick a pick that you had. I'm gonna go with Romello Height, the edge rusher to the Chicago Bears. I like this one a lot, DP. I think this one gives some versatility to the Chicago Bears, right? It allows them to do multiple different things up front, because this is a young man. So he's listed as an edge rusher. You see, some people list him as edge rusher, some people list him as linebacker. To our Locked On listeners, right, our Locked On family, he's a young man that does both, right? He plays some stack linebacker, but when you watch him rush off the edge, or even when he's blitzing, you see the first step explosiveness, right? How quick is that? Like, he's a 0 to 100 in 1 second type of football player, right? And just adding that type of tenacity to the Chicago Bears defense, they need it up front, right? They've went heavy interior defensive line. They have Austin Booker, who's another young guy that's developing pretty well. This is just another, and you're talking about different pitches, right? He's just a different type of pitch. When you talk, to be able to pull out the arsenal, he might be that cutter, right? That 93 mile per hour cutter that's like, oh man, like, that's different, right? Like, I don't know if I can hit that, right? And he may come in early as a designated pass rusher, right? Because the Chicago Bears have some good linebackers, but I think that he can find a role for himself within this defense, and I think he can be a very impactful player, because even just looking at the NFC North, right, you're talking about having to get after Jordan Love. You're talking about wanting to stop J.J. McCarthy from even getting going, and then you're talking about having to stop Jared Goff also. This is the type of football player, I think, insert him into the Chicago Bears defense, and you should have a really good combination and good situation.
Yeah, I think just being able to create that just a havoc package on the defensive front, man, to be able to get after these quarterbacks and his speed, got Montez Sweat still, like they'll be able to really collapse the pocket from the outside and make those quarterbacks step up into the interior defensive line. But then you also have to worry about the fact that, hey, defensive coordinator might send a blitz. So you get some A-gap pressure from a linebacker. Now you can collapse the pocket. Quarterback has to step up. And you stepping up into a blitz, and we're probably getting a sack or forcing a rush throw that allows our opportunistic secondary to go make a play, whether it's Kyler Gordon, Jaquan Brisker. They got Kevin Byard, who I think people might have wrote him off because he's a little bit older. But I think he's leading the NFL in interceptions this season.
Yeah, he's leading the NFL, and I think he has the most over the past, I think 3 years. It's some crazy stat. Yeah, like
it's wild how he's always around the football.
And they have Chauncey Gardner-Johnson back there too.
Yeah,
like a lot of guys.
It seems like everywhere he goes, the defense just gets better. I don't know. Yeah. It's just something about him, Keith. So I like that a lot. Just being able to put Romello Height, like I said, maybe he comes in as a DPR, and then eventually by the time, maybe the end of his rookie year, you're starting to see him playing over 50% of the snaps. And I think this is a guy, because he's listed at like 6'3", 240. Maybe he goes up 245, 248. I think you can probably get full-time, like just outside linebacker from him where he can be on the field for 80 to 100% of the defensive snaps. I think he's got a high ceiling with his athletic tools, speed to power conversion, things that he brings to the table. I'm all for that, Keith. I throw one last thing out there. I'm gonna go with his teammate because I forgot to mention it earlier. At 15, Dallas, I gave you something. All right, I gave you David Bailey. Okay, you went out there. You got Quinnen Williams. You got Logan Wilson. This front seven looks improved, Keith, with just those. Shout out to Jerry Jones, man. He was talking a lot of cash, like, yeah, I got a trade set up, and we'll see how it plays out. And I'm like, Jerry, man, you out here like catfishing us.
You thought he was pump faking, DP?
Yeah, I thought he was pump faking, man. I thought he was giving that good old Kobe Bryant, D-Wade pump fake in the middle.
I'm gonna tell you, I knew he was telling the truth because Jerry Jones is a guy that likes being liked, right? Yes. And after the Michael Parsons fiasco, it like his approval rating might have been the lowest it's been in probably the last 10 years, right? And he was like, man, I got to do something to get this approval rating back up, right?
I got to fix it. Hey, listen, and he did a good job with that trade. I loved how that trade is kind of manifested for them. Putting David Bailey beside a Quinnen Williams, yeah, man, like you're really going to get at like Jalen Hurts. You got to get after Jackson Dart, who, like you said, taps into his inner Cam Scatterboo from time to time. And then you want to make sure that JD5 doesn't get cooking again, at least not against you. So you lose, you traded away Michael Parsons. I think David Bailey would be a nice consolation prize after what you already did at the trade deadline this year to improve your defense, your pass rush, things like that. I think David Bailey, his speed, the bend, the hand usage, he does have good speed to power as well. I think he'll be a lights out pick for them. That, of course, is Dallas, so I wouldn't say it'll be underrated if it happens because it's the Cowboys, got the star, but just player fit, like fit the team and scheme. I think people might kind of, okay, and then realize, wait a minute, Dallas got David Bailey. All right, yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with DP. That wraps up another episode, man. A episode that contained a dueling mock draft. That we say it got competitive, right? It got competitive enough. DP, I think I want to compete more, right? Put me in the game. Put us in the game. We may do a couple more mock drafts throughout this mock draft season, man. Some dueling mock drafts. But that wraps up another episode, man, of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I want to end this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. That right there is my guy, my co-host, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like we like to say, man, y'all come talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. On tomorrow's show, guys, the Senior Bowl. It's all-star. It's all-star bowl game season, and the Senior Bowl already has some very key and important acceptees. So we're going to talk about that and what the Senior Bowl will mean for these players on tomorrow's show. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.